H-Town, and welcome to the H-Town Horseshoe. I am Rebekah Williams, Communication Specialist Supervisor, home of #ProcNation. The H-Town Horseshoe is brought to you by the Mayor's Office of Communications, where we give you the inside scoop on the city's many departments and what's happening around the city of Houston.
Hello. I'm Javelle Johnston, Deputy Press Secretary for the Mayor's Office of Communications. And today we're joined by a very special guest, Marc Eichenbaum, who is the Special Assistant to the Mayor for Homeless Initiatives. Fun fact, Marc serves on the Leadership Council for the National Alliance to End Homelessness and has advised over 70 cities on how to create systems to reduce homelessness. Impressive stats.
Come on now.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here at the
We
Horseshoe.
have a true SME.
I don't know about that. I don't know about how fun those facts were, but it's great to be here at the Horseshoe. I'm really excited to talk about some important issues with you guys.
Right. So, groundbreaking information, groundbreaking work that you have done or spearheaded for homelessness here in this city. Talk to us about these key initiatives that you've been working through, that you've put long hours in. I've been seeing you run around City Hall, so you've been doing a lot of great work. Talk to us about it.
Well, this groundbreaking work is done by a cohort of over 100 different organizations, all working together on one unified plan and one goal, and that is to reduce homelessness.
Gotcha.
For decades, we were spending tens of millions of dollars on homelessness, and we were helping people and we were responding, but we weren't reducing. And so, there's a difference between managing homelessness. And when you're managing it with food or clothing or with shelter, at the same time, if you're not solving it, the homeless rates are just going to go up and up.
Sure.
So, the secret here is that, unfortunately, every single day in America, hundreds of thousands of individuals facing housing instability are going to fall into homelessness. It is key for us to house every month more people out of homelessness than are falling into homelessness to be able to get those net reductions. So through the way home, we are a one-track mind here, and that is all about utilizing housing to reduce homelessness. Now, we don't do that because, out of the progressive playbook, our bleeding hearts say, we should do housing. We do housing, it's because it's the data-proven, solution. So when we have all different ideas of what can work, what can help. Okay, let's look at the data and figure out what is going to help the most. And the data shows it's housing. So we've housed a ton of folks. Of all those people, 90% stay housed more than 2 years. And we used to be happy when the recidivism rate was, when we had a success rate was like 20%. Right. Now we're at 90%. People all the time, see folks on the streets and say, "Oh man, you can't put them in housing." We do. And the key here is it's housing with services.
Yes.
Okay.
The services is what keeps the person housed.
Right.
And the housing is what makes the services effective. Okay. Providing services to somebody on the streets, highly cost prohibitive and ineffective.
Right.
These well-meaning teams spend most of their time traversing the over 640 square miles of the city trying to locate their clients. And when their clients don't have a safe and stable place to live in, it's hard for them to fully engage if we can find them. So let's put them into housing, very first thing. Then we provide wraparound voluntary support services to them. It's voluntary. Once again, why do we do that? Because we found out more people actually engage when you make it voluntary.
Yeah.
And the results of that engagement are much better.
Yeah, because they're putting in the work.
You're exactly right.
They're partnering with the process.
And they feel like they're partnering.
Yeah.
And that they're making their own decisions.
Yes.
My analogy is when I was little, well, I'm still short, but when I was younger,
Funny.
I would be about to clean up my room. And my mom would come up and knock on my door and be like, "Marc, clean up your room." And I'm like, I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you who's boss,
Yeah.
and you didn't have to tell me. The same thing.
Yeah.
So when we make it voluntary, but we encourage folks,
Yes.
we have most of everybody voluntarily engages in those support services. But I will tell you, we will never house an individual without support services. It would be negligent to do so. So it's housing with services is what's the magic here. It's what 100 different agencies.
Yes.
It's what the mayor has been pushing.
Right.
It's where the city and the county are working together. It's where philanthropy's on board. I mean, we got a big boat here, and everybody's on board in the boat. This is what's so different about Houston than other cities.
Can we unpack that a little bit
Yeah.
more? So, I mean, this is a regional action plan, right? And it, includes both public and private, partnerships. Can you talk a little bit more about some of those key partnerships and how that works?
Yeah, and you said action plan. You're exactly right. We got to start with a plan,
right.
But it's more than just a plan. We have an entire system here where organizations play a very specific role. And before, we had a lot of organizations responding to homelessness, but there was no impact because they were all doing their own thing, their own way, with their own goals. And now everybody is coordinated to maximize that impact. So the daily, those daily efforts, those resources are all coordinated amongst all these agencies, let alone having same strategies and a common set of goals.
Right.
And that align. So when you don't have a lot of money, which is the Houston way here, how do we maximize the impact of the little dollars and resources we have?
Right.
And it's by, really coordinating it closely. Sometimes we don't like to use the word coordination because it can mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
So we used to go to an agency and we'd be like, hey, do you coordinate with this other one? And they'd be like, oh, yeah. Yeah, of course we do. But well, tell us about this coordination. And we'd be like, well, I go to lunch with their executive director every other month.
Oh.
And, during the holidays, we do a sock drive. What we're talking about coordination is the 2-day efforts.
Right.
And so
that results in impact.
Right.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, we got the Houston Endowment, and we have other philanthropy. We've worked closely with Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase. My salary initially was paid for by Chevron.
Oh, wow.
We have different management districts. So it's the story of Houston. We work all together, but it's really about public-private partnerships and alignment to move that needle.
That is so beautiful.
Gotcha. So you know what, Javelle?
What's up?
I think it's that time.
Is it?
Yes,
oh,
it
man,
is.
we were getting
we were in there
Already.
All right. So, Mark, we have this game here called 520.
Great.
We ask 5 questions. You have 20 seconds to answer
Okay.
them. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I believe in you.
The 20 seconds might be difficult, but I'm ready.
But we
I can
believe
do
in
it.
I believe in you.
Yes, yes.
And I believe I'm kicking off the first question.
Okay, you are, and I'm
the timer.
gonna attempt this this timer, but we're gonna go for it. Here we
Okay.
go. And start, Javelle.
Mark, approximately how many individuals have the Way Home Action Plan permanently housed to date?
Ooh, I like these softballs. So the Way Home has permanently housed over 28,000 individuals. We're not.
Time, Mark.
Wait, no?
It
Time?
was 20 seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
From the question to that, y'all were taking like the
Okay,
slow
well, this
box.
is
Oh,
good.
it includes the question.
Yeah, it includes the
Yes.
question. It's okay. But
I
this
didn't
is-
read
run
the
it-
fine print.
This
We'll
is
run
getting
it back.
good.
It was
Okay.
good because
It's
y'all
getting
had, you had
good.
the slow bop and then he
Maybe
had
we
it.
need to kind of do a little
Okay, shimmy. We can reboot.
revamp.
We
Yeah.
can reboot.
So we're going to X-say the timer.
Okay.
Because these
Okay.
are some really great stats.
Yes.
that we really
Yeah.
want
And we need
to.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
When we talk about housing, it's not shelter. Shelter plays a very important role. It's the front door into our housing system, but it's not the answer. What do you call a homeless individual in a shelter? Homeless.
Right.
And so that's, at the end of the day, why we're so focused on housing. 98% of the folks still left on the street, they do not want to go to a shelter for various reasons. Some of it legitimate, some of it
Interesting.
not.
Interesting.
But when we offer housing with services, 90% of the folks on the
Want to
streets
do
want
that.
it.
Yeah. Because it provides their independence.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we all desire our
Absolutely.
level
We're
of
all human.
Yeah.
That's a human basic need, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So next question. When was the Way Home Action Plan unveiled?
It started in 2012, and since 2012, we've had a more than around 63% decrease in homelessness. So I'll be the first one. We've had lots of success, but this doesn't mean that everything's perfect and right.
Right.
I mean, Mayor Turner says, if there's still our brothers and sisters and mothers and uncles on our streets, we still have more to do.
Absolutely. Right.
But compared to other major cities, we are on the right path. But the community's going to have to come together to really finish the job on this community issue.
Absolutely. And to that note, I actually wanted to give a quick little nod. I read something earlier that I thought was really impressive. So, with regards to the regional action plan, Way Home, it is arguably the most successful big city homeless response initiative in the U.S.
Kudos.
Listen,
That is
Kudos,
major. That is
H-Town.
major.
we don't like to toot our own horn because, when we do, well, that's just not our style. But also, when we do, people think that, we're saying everything's perfect. It's
Right.
not. There's
No,
still a lot
yeah,
more work.
absolutely.
Okay? We do not rest on our laurels. But sometimes it's good as a community that we put everything into context and see where we came from. Like, we only see the people that are left on the streets. We don't often reflect of all the people that would be on the streets if we had
Right.
not
Right.
housed
Yes.
them.
At the end of the day, it's about impact.
Right.
And
It's
about
this
impact.
is proving the impact.
Right. So we don't care about utilization. We don't care, well, we started a program, is it being utilized? It could be utilized 100% and still not be reducing homelessness.
Yes.
Right.
We care about one thing, how many people are in our homeless population and how many people are rehousing. And there's not just correlation, there's causation between those two.
Yeah. Just wanted to make that note because I thought that was really impressive.
Very important.
And I think my question is up. So we talked about this earlier, the wraparound services, right? So where can people go to find out, all of the menu options and catalog of services? for
So
homeless?
when a client is housed, they get a case manager.
Okay.
And their case manager's job is to coordinate and tailor the support services to their needs.
Okay.
So the case manager doesn't do the support services, but they're the ones that coordinate it, manage
conduit,
it.
yeah.
And it gets, once again, specifically tailored to those individuals' needs. Now, there's also a fallacy out there that we're just paying 100% for everybody. Actually, federal laws, because we're using federal dollars, means that if the individual has income, and a lot of folks do, they have some benefits or they have something else. And, a lot of individuals who are homeless actually are working. But
Interesting.
30%
That is
of
very
any
interesting.
income that they have has to go to the housing, and then we'll cover the rest. But we do this at the end of the day. People say, man, that's really expensive. We shouldn't be doing that. But the fact is, it is more expensive for us Houstonians to drive by or walk by individuals experiencing homelessness on our streets than it is to just put them into housing with wraparound services.
Right.
Actually, we can cut costs by up to 70% by just putting folks into housing with wraparound
70%.
services.
70%.
Yeah,
That's,
because first responders aren't coming out as often.
That's true.
They're not going to the hospital for their regular,
Right.
health care. We're not having to clean up the streets or the parks as often. It's expensive to have people on our streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so if it's not a moral issue or not a religious issue, it's a fiscal issue.
Right.
Let's get folks housed and let's reduce homelessness.
Come on. You're good. You're so good. I love everything about it. So how many feeding events or encampments have holistically decommissioned in this city?
I remember back in the day when everybody was really complaining about panhandling.
Okay.
People really don't care about that as much anymore.
Right.
Right now, the huge issue is encampments, and it's affecting cities from coast to coast. And
Mark, can you kind of just give
Break
our
down-
listeners a brief overview of what encampment
Yeah.
means?
So this is when we're talking about when there is physical structures
Yeah.
popping up on public property.
Gotcha.
Here in Houston, they're usually on TxDOT property underneath overpasses.
Yeah. Right.
But we may see some in other areas.
So like the tents.
The tents.
The tents.
You're right.
Gotcha.
And in some cities, there's a correlation between an increasing of homeless population and the proliferation of tents, but not here. We cut our homeless population in half, but we still had tents. So it's really a phenomenon that spread from coast to coast. Mayor Turner believes this, and I do too. A tent is not a home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and as Houstonians, we should never be comfortable with seeing tents.
Right.
So how do we respond? Do we just push people off and push them off and just come in with enforcement where they're just going to be displaced to the next block or to further in the neighborhoods? No. What Houston did is we started nationally, we were the incubator for this, decommissioning encampments through housing. So we go in and we house everybody in that encampment, and then we can close it and clean it and reduce those public health and safety issues that were affecting the folks living in the encampment as well as the surrounding
That's
communities.
the holistic component.
That's the holistic.
That makes it.
That's holistic. And we could go do shelter. Folks will be like, no, thank you. And they'll go to the next block. We say
Right.
housing. Yes, please. Off the streets. You asked how many encampments. We have done close to 90 encampments, housing close to 600 individuals.
That's awesome.
And what started here in Houston is literally changing other cities from coast to coast. They're following us. Austin, L.A., Dallas. They're all doing the Houston method.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
Come on,
And
Sanjeev.
final question, and we kind of spoke to this earlier, but how many partnering agencies are involved with the City of Houston's Dinner to Home program specifically?
Yeah, with the Dinner to Home program, which is key, food, bologna sandwiches and even handouts do not house people. They do
Right.
not get them out of homelessness.
Facts.
But food can be used when it's linked with housing to be able to form those relationships, coax the folks so that we know who they are, what they need. We can assess them for housing and get them on the road to being housed. And that's what the Mayor's Dinner to Home program is doing, utilizing food as a tool to get folks off the streets.
Come on, Conduit.
And I tell you, there's a Bread of Life.
Yes.
Is the main one, and they do an
Yeah.
amazing job. But there's about 5 other agencies that are doing it. And I'll tell you, if there's feeding groups out there and they're feeding on the streets, we have a place now for you to feed. We'll schedule you in that has porta cans and hand washing stations and lights and
Right.
electricity. It's a great space. We'd love to have you there.
You heard it here
Yep.
first,
Yeah.
folks. Come on
So
out.
let's deep dive, because our listeners,
Yes.
they do have those feeding programs. So where do they go? How do they sign up? How can they be a part?
Yeah. So they can, one of the best ways to do it is they can reach out to me, and then I will make sure to get them to the right agency, which is usually through our health department.
Awesome.
So folks can feel free to contact me. But once again, if there's agencies already out there feeding, come on in. To people that aren't doing feeding in, I wouldn't necessarily go start doing that. We need help in so many other ways. One place is the people that we house right off the street. We house them. They're housed, but they still have needs to eat.
Right.
And so what if food was more than just nutrition for the body, but the food was actually helping us keep the person housed?
Okay.
So there's a lot of different things people can do besides food. But at the end of the day, if we don't have the housing, we can't do anything. So it's about the housing.
So give us that website where they can go to get all this information.
It is thewayhomehouston.org.
Awesome.
All right.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Javelle,
Well,
it was
thank
great.
you so much, Marc, for sharing your expertise and insights with us. And for those tuning in, we hope that you have learned and just have a better understanding about all the impactful work happening in and around the city as regards to how we advance our response to homelessness.
Yeah.
Feel free to drop us a line on social media, comment, questions, thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And again, a special thank you to you.
Well, thank you guys. The horseshoe's awesome. So thank you guys.
Yes.
This is what it's about.
Yes.
Sharing that information.
Thank you. And the work that you do.
Well, it's the work of the system and all of our partners.
Yes, but it takes great leadership. So again, shout out to our mayor for all the work that he does and putting great people in place to execute and make sure that our city is safe and better. So until next time, we want to make sure that you follow us on social, and we love you, and we'll catch you in the horseshoe.
Absolutely. Till next time, guys.